Welcome back to Marvel Media Podcast, where we talk about all things media, especially Marvel. I'm Blake, and I'm here with just the one co-host, Josh, today.
Yeah, this time we are without Alex. You know, it was me for a hot minute. Now it's Alex. That's how it be. You know,
Show must go on.
they must.
Doesn't have to. Today, we're just gonna go. We're gonna talk about the, A24, the studio. Very popular, obviously, fresh off of winning a couple Oscars. And so we just kind of figured we talk about their movies, the ones that we've seen. Obviously, we haven't seen all of them. We're not that dedicated to it.
Seen enough.
But we just thought it'd be fun. Yeah, we've seen enough that we.
It's been a roller coaster of them. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. But
yeah. Funny
I
enough.
feel like,
real quick, I just realized A24 holds my favorite movie and also my least favorite movie of all time. It's kind of crazy.
I feel like they have that ability in them.
They do. They got that range.
They do. I don't know, actually. We'll get more into range in a little bit. But honestly, I feel like to start, it's only right. I believe Spring Breakers is the first A24 movie, I believe, because I purposely tried to look at their list a while back to see what it was and watch that one on purpose. Mm-hmm. So I did watch it. I think it came out, I want to say 2013. Definitely could be wrong.
Yeah.
But so this was actually a big cast for the first one of a studio. It had Vanessa Hudgens, Selena Gomez, Ashley Benson, who at the time was pretty poppin' because she was on Pretty Little Liars, which had that had overrun on TV. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the fourth girl who was
James
in it.
Franco
as like
was also in it.
Yeah. And then it had James Franco and Gucci Mane actually was in this one, which is kind of interesting to see. When he came up on screen, I was like, Gucci? But whatever. So like I said, this was their first one. I watched this one relatively recently, probably within a month or two. This was a brutal watch, I'll be honest. Very brutal watch. Very cringy at times. I could see when it came out, if you're younger, like, oh, spring break, all this stuff happening, cool, whatever, blah, blah. To watch now, it was a battle to get through, I will say, from how cringy it was at times. The story was pretty interesting. It actually was like, kind of different idea, I would say, which I think A24 kind of, we see them as, they build, we'll see that that's kind of the main thing of A24. Mm-hmm. They don't just want the generic kind of storylines. So it definitely did have like a kind of different storyline. But yeah, this one was a brutal watch, I'll be honest. It's not like we're super old, but for an older audience, if you're not like a high schooler watching this, because you're going to see some girls in bathing suits and a couple tits every now and then. Mm-hmm. This is a tough watch. So
I've only seen clips on TikTok, especially of James Franco's character in it, and I'm glad to say I never watched the full thing, only bits and pieces, and even from those little clips, it was hard to get through those clips.
It is not a surprise that James Franco turned out to be a weird guy. Just say that. There's signs every now and then that we should be looking for.
That movie was one of them.
Didn't see a single black person for over half the movie. All of a sudden, the song turns on, saying the N-word a lot. Then we get a cutscene to seeing like the first black people in the entire movie, and I'm like, that seems it's a bit weird. But and then Gucci Mane and them show up later. But just a weird little thing to point out. Don't know.
All right.
When I heard the song, I was like, I feel like this is weird, and then boom, we cut, and I was like, now it's really weird. Now it's definitely weird. But yeah, that's just a quick overview of, where they started. And it was a rough start, personally for me, like I said, as a, don't think I'm the demographic for that movie.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, we don't need to go through this, like, in order of what came out. We'll just skip to, let's go to Tusk. If you want to talk about Tusk a little bit, one that we both have seen.
Tusk, that was one I saw before, the back attacks happened and before I was out for a bit. And that was tough. That was traumatizingly tough. I always saw for years people talk about this movie and how I can't remember the actor's name. I just forgot it. But
the main one?
Yeah, the guy in it.
David Long.
Yeah,
David Long.
anytime he popped up in any scene or trailer, there was always at least one comment saying, "Don't act like we haven't forgot what you did to us with Tusk." And so every time I see that, I was like, okay, I'm just going to avoid that movie. I'm just not going to fall for the bait that everyone keeps talking about. And then finally, my girlfriend's like, we got to watch this movie. You haven't seen it? We got to watch it. And I was like, fine, we'll do it. It's awful. It's just brutal, And then randomly, Johnny Depp just appears like halfway through the movie, and his character's weird as shit. It's I don't know how to describe it, but do you not remember Johnny Depp? He plays as like this
No,
Canadian.
I'm trying to think.
Oh,
was Woody Harrelson? Was he like the guy?
I don't think Woody was
Woody Harrelson in this. It's been a while since I saw this because I saw it when I was like younger.
I don't think Woody's in this one.
Who am I thinking of then?
No, Harley, the YouTuber. He's like a border agent for Canada. That's also he makes a random appearance. Which that was also like okay, and then he like basically is him talking about like Canadians and everything, it was weird, kind of funny, but no, really, it was just Johnny Depp that just randomly shows up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking, why am I thinking of Woody Harrelson? Am I thinking of No Country for Old Men? Why was I thinking of Woody Harrelson as like an agent? Don't know why that came up, but yeah, no, I saw it like you.
Wait, was it not Johnny Depp? Was that not Johnny Depp? Am I wrong?
Johnny Depp.
No, it is Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Why is Google just not showing him in the cast? Okay, Google.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah,
Cast.
I was about to say, I was like, no, he's not.
The fourth person listed.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I agree. This movie was very messed up, very weird.
Yeah, disgusting too.
Yeah, just This one I feel like was probably one of the earlier A24. I don't remember when it came out, but
if Spring Breakers is 2013, this one's 2014, so only years later.
Was it really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. This one was very weird, very messed up, very
Yeah. I mean, there's like bits of it where like there's some funny scenes, with him interacting with like the teenagers in a store, and then of course them putting him, spoiler alert, in a zoo at the end. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you just be fucking for real right now. That's how it's gonna end.
Just go back
and so part of that is funny for the directors and the writers to do that to the audience and force us to see that. Yes, I will admit, but just so much of that movie. It's just the old man in general, they have to fight each other too in their little skin sacks things. Yeah. He just loses his shit. I don't know, man. It was a bonding experience. That's what I gotta say with everyone else that have seen that movie. So I'll give that props for that. But
moving on. We're moving on.
Yeah.
That's what
I'll never see Mr. Long the same ever again. So
let's see. I mean, I feel like all of them are weird for the most part. We'll go into a solo one for you if you want to pick one of the ones that just you've seen that I have not seen yet.
Well, we'll just continue the weird trends. Midsummer is a weird horror movie. Yes, there is some, but like this one, I still don't know how I feel about this one. In terms of was it real actually like good or just like okay, they're just being weird to be weird. Because like it definitely is a slow burn and like you slowly catch on to what's happening and like the weird things that are going on. So in that element, it's cool, but then like just once it gets towards the end, just everything goes to shit. And it's like, okay. And then it's over. And I'm like, all right. And then there's one traumatizing scene in it that, is probably why I can't for sure say it's a good movie just because that one scene.
Go ahead, talk about it. Spoilers alert. Well, go ahead.
It's because it's the boyfriend. He like starts having sex in like this weird chamber, and then all of them get naked in there. And I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I didn't like it. So that stops me from saying it's a good movie.
I didn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um.
Yeah. So.
All right, we'll move on
Yep.
then.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's talk about. Oh man, I'll go into one that I saw. The Lobster. This is a Colin Farrell is in this one. This is a great society where you get sent to a place where you have 45 days to find a spouse, and if you don't find a spouse in those 45 days, you get turned into an animal of your choice. Um,
Okay.
and so a lot of weird stuff happens. Some weird sexual type activities that'll happen at one point too, because A24 just has to include that. Um, I'll say it. I was gonna wait till we're a little bit later in talk about some other movies. I don't think A24 is a good studio. I don't think these movies are good for the most part. Um, I think they just try. They want to be different for the sake of being different, not for the sake of having good story. Because a lot of these, The Lobster, Spring Breakers, Tusk, um, but I'll just stick on the animal theme of like The Lobster and Tusk. There's just a lot of scenes in it that are just unnecessary, not good, and it's just they just want to be different. And yeah, I'll be honest, A24, for the most part, if I see their names attached to a movie, I'm probably not going to watch it moving forward because I know it's a pick me. That's what it is. It's like, wow, we are so different from everyone else. Look what we're doing. We are having some weird sex scene. Isn't this crazy? And it's like, no, it's not crazy. It's stupid and trash, and it added nothing to the story. Speaking of which, the Green Knight that has that great element
Oh.
of just
Oh God.
a
Stop. That's the
random
most
out of nowhere
traumatizing.
scene.
More
That's
traumatizing
like,
than
what
Tusk.
what was the point of that? Just because you
Yeah.
wanted to be different. That was the point of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Green Knight was terrible.
Yep.
That scene was terrible. Added nothing to the story.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not much to add to a garbage story,
Yeah.
anyways, because
But
that
you
movie
don't know
was
the
trash.
scene. They literally make this dude cream into a towel, and then he gets like shamed for it and then banished from the house. And it's
And then
awful.
he wraps it like around his waist and like wears it
Yeah.
for like protection in a sense.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be protection, I guess.
Yeah. And it none of it is relevant in the end at all.
No,
No. No. And then you
and
get
that's just what
random
A24 is.
big giants that look cool, and you expect something crazy is about to happen there, and nothing happens at all. There's a big battle that happens before he even gets to a scene. You don't see the battle or the scene. He just walks through it. It's a walking simulator basically, you know?
It really is.
Yeah. It's
It
like
really
it's
is.
a Death Stranding type game, except not nearly as cool of cutscenes, but a movie.
It's it's just not.
Yeah.
And I'll stay on that with the Lighthouse, which I was excited for because I love Robert Pattinson, big Willem Dafoe guy. So I
Mm-hmm.
watched the Lighthouse, and again, this was another just nothing burger kind of movie. Just so many scenes happen in it that you're like, why? What did that add? Nothing. Again, some weird sexual stuff that happens that again I'm like, what? It happens. It's weird. It makes no sense. It goes on. You never get a connection. And you're like,
Yeah.
why did I just watch hentai? For what purpose? You know?
Mm.
There is no purpose because it's an
Mm.
A24 movie. And it just wanted to be different. And by being different, I guess that means having terrible storylines and just adding random weird
Well, I
sex
won't even
scenes.
say storylines. I mean, half the time they don't have a storyline, and that's the issue.
No, but
Um,
we don't understand the deeper meaning though.
true,
You
true,
know, that's
true.
that's our
The deeper
issue.
meaning of
It's
Spring
our
Breakers
fault.
was to see Selena Gomez in a bikini. That's what it was. That's the
It really
storyline.
was.
That's the
It really
storyline.
was.
Disney girl.
It's just there's some that stand out. There are some that stand out. Which I guess we can go to one that stand out. Obviously, your favorite, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which
Yeah,
you can talk about a little bit
and
here.
I mean it's my favorite movie. That's my favorite movie. If you couldn't tell earlier, Green Knight's my least favorite. So, um, yeah, I mean, everywhere just has a solid, actually, storyline, a great plot to it, actually great, amazing action scenes to it, fantastic acting and editing. And that's just, I don't know how this came out of A24, but I'm scared what's going to happen after because of how much success this movie's had. So, they about to get loose with it now. You know, they got some Oscars to their name, bro. They're about to go crazy as a studio.
It's
So,
just,
I mean, that's the nice thing about A24. It's the bad and the nice. The nice is the fact that this is a studio that does allow something like Everywhere to have a chance to be published, basically, as I guarantee almost most studios would probably turning down something like this. But at the
or at
same
least
time, it
edit
also
it a
allows
lot.
you know, the crazy,
Garbage.
weird, borderline pedo filmmakers to make some garbage movies. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it really does.
yeah.
I just don't get it. I'll go to another one. The End of the Tour. This was another one that I watched, and I was like, oh, it's got Jason Segel, How I Met Your Mother, Marshall, who doesn't love him,
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall, a bunch of other movies. I was like, oh, I like him, and then it's got Jesse Eisenberg, who I'm impressed with Jesse Eisenberg on the sense that somehow he has fooled people into thinking he's a good actor because he does a bunch of artsy movies. And somehow people have like made it mean like, oh, he's a good actor because he does these projects. When really it's like, no, he sucks at acting. He does the same thing in all of the movies, and he just does small garbage artsy movies. That's all it is. Because this was another one that if you asked me to describe the plot to you, I don't really know if I could. Besides a writer who's older, Jason Segel, an older guy gets a book published or something published for the first time, and it's supposed to be really good. So then Jesse Eisenberg's character, as a journalist, decides to go with him to part of the tour, the last part of his tour.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. There's like no climax to this movie. They go on the tour, they have like a short argument. I guess that's supposed to be the climax. And then they go back to his house and they're like, sorry about it. Sorry. And then the movie ends.
It's not even like crazy wholesome or
No.
something. It's just
Nope.
monotone,
Nope.
little tiny.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
It is not like there was no wholesome moment. It wasn't like they didn't have this huge argument and then like
Mm-hmm.
a sweet come together scene. It was like they had a small argument.
Yeah.
And then they talked at his house and they're like, it was good meeting you. And that
Yeah.
was about it. And then I was like, what was the point of this movie? Again.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that is the issue with it. I mean, like, yes, we know this is a studio that emphasizes the art side of movie making. They love to make it look as artistically beautiful as they can. But a lot of times when they do that, it makes it so painful when either the story or the acting or just the scene in general is just ass. And that was the biggest part where we got so pissed off with Green Knight was there's so many scenes that could have caused that movie to just even be decent to good to watch. And then they just did jack shit with it. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's what makes it painful.
If you want to go ahead and pick, one. Actually, if you just want to go back to back.
I would easily say one that talked about is Hereditary. For me, that's one I think is actually maybe I would say I got to rewatch some of my scary movies because I love the Conjuring series. But Hereditary is definitely up there, if not maybe my favorite actual like scary movie. As the acting is good in it, it actually has a good story to it, and I like the little secret hidden elements of you, like they leave trails of you trying to figure out what's actually gonna happen. So that's nice. It also has a classic A24 horror element to it where there's one scene where you just simply sit there and you say, what the fuck just happened? But this time the what the fuck just happened isn't like disgusting where you're turned off from it. It's more of like, oh my god, that just happened, and you kind of like laugh at it, and then the film like uses that to progress the movie somehow, and it works. It works. So, little spoiler for that. What happens is like the daughter's head gets knocked off, clean knocked off while they're driving, and it's it's just like, what did that just fucking happen? And so it's so funny, bro. It's so funny just because the brother's high off his mind trying to drive his sister home, and then his sister fucking just dies, and you're just like, okay, all right. And then the movie continues and uses that, and so it works, and then it progressively gets scarier and scarier, and then the final scene was it was satisfying for a scary movie. It was satisfying for sure. And I think that's probably the hardest part for horror movies, to actually, land the ending there. So, and they definitely did. Let's see, what's another one that we could... Pearl. Pearl's one I watched. I actually saw that one in theaters for Pearl. This one, it's kind of harder for me to judge because it's like a prequel to the X movies or whatnot, and I haven't seen the X movies, even though I heard like a lot of people actually like them. Don't know if they're actually good or just because the cast that's in them and people are just fanboying or fangirling over the cast. But Pearl, it is very slow, and it's kind of more of a thriller type horror movie than an actual scary. And I guess I went into it thinking that it was going to be more of a scary one. So that kind of turned me off a little bit of it. The acting's great in it. Pearl is absolutely psychotic. And at the ending of this movie, which, little spoiler, has the scariest end credit of any movie of all time. She just stares wide-eyed in this creepy-ass face is straight into your soul, and it slowly zooms into her face while she's holding the smile. So the actress it's a live video of her holding that face through the whole end credits. And it just slowly goes in and in more and more until the end credits are over. And it plays, I don't remember the soundtrack for it, but the soundtrack's also just eerie, and I'm like horrified until I finally leave. So at least that bit is kind of funny. It was memorable for a theater moment, so it was worth it for that. But I would say like outside of watching in a theater, maybe you're watching the homies just for that final end credit scene that you know is going to happen and they don't know, it might be worth it. Also has a weird, sex scene in it, but it's with the scarecrow. It's with the scarecrow.
Wow.
Yeah, she starts moaning really loud, and I remember I watched it with my friend Mitch because he asked to go see it, and I looked at him, and we made eye contact while this chick was just moaning on top of Scarecrow, and we both were like, what did we get ourselves into watching this movie?
Shocker. Yeah. Who would have thought A24 had a weird, interesting.
I was able to watch it, though, so it was good enough. But yeah.
I guess. And then, to close this out, we'll go to two movies that were made by the Safdie brothers, which is a good thing for, A24. Is like we said, for the most part, at least me personally, for the most part, I think A24's filmography is pretty trash. It's just a lot of like, oh, look at this artsy movie, or this movie's so different. It's like the storyline is garbage, and we're gonna also have some weird sexual scene happen, that makes no sense and doesn't add anything. But we're so different. But the Safdie brothers are actually like, known brothers who, have known work. So they worked with A24 and they created, first off, Good Times was the first one that they collabed with A24 and did. This was Robert Pattinson was in this movie. And this movie was good. There's actually a story to it, a plot to follow that was interesting. Obviously, the acting was really good when you have someone like Robert Pattinson. And I think it was Benny Safdie is actually the brother who acted in this one as well. I think it was Benny. I'm going to say it's Benny. Final answer. Simply because they needed somebody to be, I believe he's on the spectrum of autism. And they needed an actor, and Benny just kept, in the auditions, kept saying what he wanted. And so eventually his brother was like, why don't you just do it then? And he's like, okay. so he just decided to act as it so that they wouldn't have to look for anybody anymore. And he did a
Okay.
great job of it. But Robert Pattinson was just phenomenal in this movie. Obviously I got a weakness for that man, so anything he does besides Lighthouse, I'm gonna love. Um, and it actually has a plot, so Good Times is actually, a good time. It's actually a good movie. And then to close it out, we'll go with Safdie Brothers' most recent. Who knows if they're going to work with A24 in the future? But Uncut Gems, one that, obviously we saw this one together and probably, yeah, I guess, no, we did see Green Knight for some reason in theater, but I was going to say the only A24 film we've seen together in theaters, but unfortunately we saw Green Knight. And
yeah. Which I'd like to
Uncut
say,
Gems,
we
obviously,
forgot to mention with the Green Knight is that everyone in the audience in the theater also hated the film. So it's not like we're just being haters.
yes.
Literally, we agreed with others of openly saying, wow, that movie fucking sucked. So
this is
another point to bring out.
Yeah, this is classic MMP lore. If you've been a part of, we've talked about this before.
Mhm.
This brought people together during a pandemic, as this was in pandemic times. Movie theaters were open still. I believe this was before everything got closed, or maybe this was right after things opened.
It was close around there, yeah.
We saw this movie, and when it ended, we talked with random people around us to talk about how garbage this movie was. That's what this did. It brought people together. It united in a time where people were divided and afraid to be, connected. We connected with others to discuss this film and how garbage it was, how terrible the story was, how boring it was. Just because you hold a camera shot on a guy riding a horse for 70 minutes straight does not mean it's a good movie, people. And we can, everyone has different opinions. But if your opinion is that movie was good, you don't deserve an opinion. And that's just my personal opinion.
Or a job, or a house, or
right,
a life.
Like, you're done. You're done. But Uncut Gems was not like that, This was actually a good movie. I have it as one of my favorite movies. It's, top 3, top 4 for me easily. Because it had a plot.
Also was close to
kind of weird.
Yeah,
it was. I'm a big Adam Sandler guy. So it was definitely close to my heart. I love Adam Sandler. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And so I also love basketball. I'm a big basketball guy.
Big basketball guy.
Kevin Durant. Yeah. I also love The Weeknd. He's one of my favorite. He has, some cameos.
Which was a funny scene in there.
Yeah.
Just randomly go, Weeknd steals his girl, Adam Sandler's girl. That was goofy.
Back when Julia Fox was actually, worth talking
Last
about.
time she was relevant.
But that movie is actually good. Obviously, it's one of my favorites. I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It just was a tough theater experience for me because there's just a lot of dipshits around me on their phones, and it was just pissed me off to the point I had a headache. So it's tough, because on any A24 film, you really actually got to pay attention the entire time to actually truly enjoy it. So it made it rough for that. But no, it was a good movie overall, easily. And tough ending. Not what I expected to happen, but tough ending.
It was good. It was a good ending. It was nice. Yeah. Just to let you know how it's going to end for all of us eventually. We're in that world. But this is it's one of those movies that the A24, like you said, it has its pros and cons. Obviously, it helps smaller directors and writers, producers get into it. However, it's kind of weird how it's almost always huge stars. It's like that part to me is a little weird because even their beginning.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, how does that work? How does some nobody direct? And it's like, oh,
there's always at least one.
Right. It's just weird. But like obviously some people kind of just have connections with it. Like Willem Dafoe has been in quite a few that I can think of. Obviously he was in the Lighthouse. The Florida Project is one he stars in, and I want to say there's another one that I'm forgetting. But even early on, like things like Enemy, Jake Gyllenhaal was in their first one. I mean, we just talked about the cast of Spring Breakers. So there are pros and cons, like obviously of A24. It allows those smaller creators and like it allows different type of stories. But it's like, let's You know what I mean? Let's really look through it a little bit.
It has a lot of misses, but when it hits, it hits. You know?
Yeah. It does definitely have that potential too.
Yeah.
One of your favorite movies can easily come from A24.
Exactly.
But also quite a few of your least favorite will also come from A24.
It definitely has a wide variety to where I feel like any movie watcher, you have a strong chance of coming out. If you actually give A24 movies a chance, you have a strong chance of coming out with one of these being in your top 5 somehow, which is crazy.
See, here's the thing,
since there's so many tracks.
Does it?
It does.
Does it really have a wide range?
Think about it. Even me and you have 2 movies that's in our top 5.
I get that, but I'm saying there's quite a few of A24 that I could think about and go through that they are very, very similar.
Oh, I mean, even from ones that like I haven't even watched, like Enemy, for example. I know that one's way different from other ones where it's right, like
but there's quite a few. The Lobster, Tusk.
Yes, it has an animal name in it. Avoid it, okay?
The one about the sheep. Oh my god, I can't think of it right now. But there's one about a sheep. There's quite a few that have a weird. There's quite a few that I think there's a lot of similarities of the humor in it are very similar, of a dry sense of humor, and quite a few have it seems like A24 forces you to have some kind of weird sexual thing. I just find it hard to believe that all of these movies have some kind of weird sexual thing happen in them.
True, it is true.
I just find that weird, because looking at this list,
every film has
only 2
every
I can think of. Good Time and The End of the Tour do not. Those are the only 2 on this list of what we have 12 here or so.
Yeah.
That don't have some kind of sexual type thing happen in it to over the top, not more than just like a kiss or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some more further thing happen.
That's how it be though. You know, you gotta respect the consistency, whether you like it or not. You know, someone somewhere is demanding this. You know. And it will come out in about probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah, let's not be surprised when Harvey Weinstein has his hands in A24 and his hands down some other things too. But we're still going to thank him at our award ceremonies. Okay.
Yep.
I think that's going to do it for this video. A24, what are your thoughts on it? Leave those down below. Like we said, there's good and there's bad. Exactly. I just think there's a lot of bad.
Did you leave with a top 5? That's what I want to know. Is the theory correct? Alex wouldn't know.
Yeah. Just shout out to Alex, who's not in this video solely because he's watched a single one. Allegedly, actually, he's watched 2. Allegedly. That's it. Even though we've talked about this video for a while. Like the video. Subscribe as always. Comment down below your thoughts on A24. And we'll see you guys in the next one.